Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 83. We got two special guests today. I know y'all excited. We have John Woods from Algorand Foundation and Gary Malouf from Algorand Technologies. How you doing,
Yeah,
Crypto for Change?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. What's up to everybody in the chat? Obviously, thank you all for popping in here. We got over 50 already in the chat watching live from probably all over the world. So thanks for tuning in. It's going to be a fun show. We have two amazing guests. Obviously, the CTOs of Algorand is what this show is going to be called. And
Yes.
so obviously drop any questions. We took all your all's questions from, what you guys posted on Twitter and on the socials. So there's going to be some really in-depth talk going on, but also some fun, conversations to be had. But drop any other questions you guys have in the chat. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And without further ado, let's bring on the CTOs of Algorand.
Let's get it. Welcome, Gary.
Hey guys,
Welcome,
great to be
John.
back.
Yes.
What's going on,
Jaws.
John? Yeah.
Hey, C, Will, Crypto for Change. Good to be here. And Gary, we speak nearly every day anyway, so nice to see you.
What's up, man? Long time no see.
Right. Y'all just got off probably your lunch talk about how you're gonna make Algorand, blow through the moon past Solana as it's,
Straight through.
sinking down on a ship somewhere in the sea.
Right, exactly. Burning at the bottom of the ocean. Defines
Yeah.
physics. Gary and I, we work together literally every day, and we have a great relationship. And the work him and his team have done on the protocol is astounding. And it makes my job easy. All I have to focus on is the dev tools.
Yeah. And obviously everybody in the chat is super thankful for both of you guys because it makes our user experience in crypto over the past few years outside of price action phenomenal. And it's been amazing.
Definitely. So two best CTOs. All right, so let's get this show on the road. Crypto for Change, you want to take them in?
So first off, let's start off with this. Gary, you are now the CTO at Algorand Technologies. So I know we've had you on our show before, and we've kind of talked about what your roles were then. Maybe let us know a little bit how your roles maybe have changed with your new title and what you're doing there still at Algorand Technologies. And also, if you can, and this could also be a question for both after Gary answers, but what is the rebranding with Algorand Technologies? What does that entirely mean if you could shed any light there?
All right, I probably should take that one since I work for Algorand Technologies. So look, a lot of it is reflecting reality of what I do day to day, right? That's honestly that the title changes. I'm not going to say I'm not doing dramatically different things. Our goal is to build, the world's best layer one blockchain, period, right? Is great technology that everyone else can leverage and build upon and do great things with. In terms of setting strategic direction, like making steering the ship, and then a lot of times helping steer, actually move the oars. That's what we do. What we got to do here. But that's the job. And any good CTO, frankly, we could say like it's not specific to Algorand Technologies. Like your job is, hey, are we working on the things that matter? Does what we're doing on the technical side make sense with like what the company's goal is? And we're in our case both the technology, both the company and the broader ecosystem. And are people enjoying being there, and are we getting the best possible people to work on this? So that's what I do. In terms of Algorand Technologies, that rebrand is not accidental. We wanted to make clear what it is we do, which is we build great technology. And sometimes there's been confusion at different times. I think we had a discussion on this when I was on 6 months ago. Our job is to build great blockchain technology that we call Algorand, right? And to give people, whether in the public, private, anywhere in between, the ability to leverage it. And that's exactly what we wanted to go for. You can go through the website and you'll see that. And we've carefully thought through everything that's on there, and that's the reasoning. It's not a foundation, right? And that we have Jaws here to talk through it, but that was what we wanted to make clear, and that was there's no secrets about why we did the rebrand. That was the reason.
No, and obviously I like it. I think it's a good twist, and obviously it does. We do need to focus and highlight the technology of Algorand, especially in I feel like today's landscape, because so much of the technology is kind of overlooked, it seems, as far as like what's actually happening out there and what these protocols are actually able to do, and actually able to, I guess, follow through with. And so, yeah, we want to see Algorand's technology get, showcased out there. You have something else you want to add?
No, it
Okay.
would be really nice if people could agree on like solid. We talked about, I think we riffed on this a little bit in the spring, but like basically these protocols can go and claim anything, and right? And that's the game that we play right now.
Yeah.
That will change. I think the ecosystem's starting to mature slowly but surely. And that's why we hope to come out on top, and like that's steering our direction going forward. That's everything we think about is how do we want to be. Everything needs to be legit on the up and up, and people need to trust in what we're doing.
Yeah.
Also, we just need to start using cooler names,
Yeah.
What am I saying?
Like Fire Dancer.
Yeah. Moonbeam and Moonlight.
All
these. Yeah.
We're going to call
Merge.
the next
Isn't that
version
a
of Algorand like Algorand Pro Max Ultra. And so
Sound like an iPhone.
Yeah.
No, it's just like the bestest ever. So like just consider that,
But it doesn't get hacked.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right,
I
John.
heard there's been some challenges this week. So in the ecosystem. So
John, can you reintroduce yourself to the audience? I know there's some new people out there as well. Since Gary did a nice introduction, let them know who you are too.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I'm not John Woods. Algo greater than Soul. I am.
But Algorand is greater than Soul.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. So Gary's the CTO at Algorand Technologies. I'm Gary's counterpart at the foundation. And so we focus on fostering the adoption, use, awareness around Algorand, taking the technologies that Gary's team have created and seeing them used. That's our core kind of mandate. We also manage a portion of the treasury. So we have some of these algo tokens that we invest in different projects, and we try to see the ecosystem flourish. I guess maybe most significantly at the moment from a technical point of view, my teams would manage DevRel. It used to be at the technologies firm, but now it's with us at the foundation. And my teams are also focused on AlgoKit, so the developer tools that you used to build apps on the decentralized platform that is Algorand.
Yeah.
And so I'm John, the CTO over at the foundation.
Yeah, and we're going to get into AlgoKit as well. Obviously, like I said, we've pulled a lot of questions from the community, and obviously there was some really great questions from the community on that post. So shout out to all you guys in the chat, for posting those. And let's jump into some of those. And some of these may be, super technical, but I do know that John and Gary are both really good at breaking down super technical things to help even, the average crypto investor, or not investor, but user actually understand. And one of these is we got dynamic Lambos. No, I'm kidding. It's dynamic Lambda and peer-to-peer gossip, right? We're going to go John Woods on this one. A lot of people are wondering, what is this? What's this? What's the expectation of how this is going to improve Algorand, and kind of take that away?
So I think let's do, because like Gary would know more about this than me, but I'll start it, right? Because I want to prove my technical chops. When I was at Cardano, I had Gary's job, right? I was responsible for the protocol. Now it's a less technical role, so I need to prove my techno chops.
Let's do it.
So Gary will do a better job.
What happens if you fail?
There's no penalty.
No penalty.
I thought this was like Survivor. Okay.
But at the end,
you get 10 more votes on the poll of who's the best CTO.
So dynamic Lambda. It's the brilliant thing about this is that Gary was teaching it to me last week. But then what dynamic Lambda is, Lambda is a constant in the original white paper. And what it is it's a variable that defines how long the network will wait for proposals and to come in. And so this is very important because, we have 3.3 second blocks, and we have those because we wait for a little bit of time for proposals to come in, and then we act and we propagate the block and we validate it and we start again. And so what dynamic Lambda is really trying to do is say, hey, most of the time we don't have to wait so long. We can actually get going after a second or so because we have 95% of the proposals in. So dynamic Lambda is an approach to enhance the efficiency of how long we wait for proposals, to at the expense of cutting off maybe some small percentage of proposals that are very late, so that we can, on average, reduce the block time. And we think it's going to be killer good. Peer-to-peer, of course, enhancing the network to be as decentralized as possible, and it's nothing but good news. Gary, anything to add to that?
In short, it lets us get really aggressive on shrinking round times without the risk that we leave too many people out. That's the really short thing to say about it. It's a pretty straightforward algorithm, and in terms of how we're using it. But what we like about it is, hey, John and I could be both running the nodes. They don't have to think that they can, like Jon Snow can think the round time should be 2.5 seconds, and I can think it should be 2 seconds. And that's okay. The network the protocol will figure it out and get the round done in a timely manner. It's like, it sounds like, oh, this is weird. Everybody has to, they will come to agreement. They will get to consensus. But what it allows us to do is be flexible. If, for example, we're in a peer-to-peer network in the not so just a fully peer-to-peer where, there's no transactions running through any high-powered nodes. And sometimes, hey, we're 2 second rounds, but in this round we need 2.8. We can do that, and we don't have to go change anything. We don't have to worry about a stall. That's what it does for us, and in short, and it's really powerful. It allows us to get really aggressive.
Gary, I realized something though. We don't need to call this dynamic lambda. We need to call it this. Right?
I thought you were the one who called it that.
We're going to call it AI block time. So now there's artificial intelligence working in the background.
Yeah, there we
to
go.
Decide what the block time should be. Only on Algorand, not possible anywhere else. We have artificial intelligence deciding the block time.
Even better, call it AI block time, but it stands for Algorand intelligence.
Yes.
But no one has to know that. Except the audience here.
Algorand intelligence. I like that. Okay. So outside of the peer-to-peer and incentivization, is anything else Algorand is focused on in terms of protocol upgrades?
Well, let's step back for a second.
Okay.
Decentralization.
Yeah.
To me, like we have a lot of these L1 blockchains, and they have some have very nice price points, some have very low price points, some are everywhere in between, right? Bottom line is, I don't feel like, if we're going to say who's the most successful blockchain, I think you would say Bitcoin on price, probably.
Yep.
In reality, their technology is Stone Age, for all intents and purposes. Let's be honest about that. And there's nothing wrong. None of us are here without Bitcoin, so there's nothing wrong with that. But just admitting that. Ethereum has probably most seen through the vision of decentralization on its own. It has not seen through reasonable fees. It has not seen through reasonable performance. Right.
No scaling.
To me, I was just telling this to John last hour, before we came on with you guys, to me, success looks like we've achieved the vision of decentralization that Ethereum has started. But we've kept all the powerful performance benefits that we've built up over time, including really tight round times, low fees, really high throughput at an L1 level. And if you could do all that and be decentralized, that is the magic mix. And I don't think anyone has achieved that yet. Not close. You'll see all kinds of crazy numbers with, for example, Solana, where they count 80% of their messages are consensus messages, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't even know how to measure TPS sometimes with them. But if you can get to the true decentralization where no one's, and that's where we're on our way to, and we're going to get there sooner rather than later. Even the first release coming up is taking away hey, there's no single DNS point that controls the world. But that if you can get to true decentralization and keep all your performance benefits, that is what we're doing this for, from a technology perspective. And that's what I'm going after. So when we say what else, there's a peer-to-peer, the incentives, dynamic round times, it's all rolling up to, we want to be the most decentralized and performant blockchain possible.
Let's go.
And to hit on that, let's stay there for a second. When can we expect Algorand to have this peer-to-peer gossip fully out and running? And then, because there are obviously, I guess, the trade-offs, and even what a lot of people would critique is the reason why Algorand is so fast and is so good is because of its that centralized aspect to the nodes and the relay nodes and all that stuff. We've you guys have had your conversations with people on Twitter and all that stuff already, but when could we expect the peer-to-peer gossip network to be live, and what would the differences, I guess, in round times and things like that be if depending upon how many nodes are up and running and how many if everybody's equipment, I guess, is not up to speed with what I guess currently is being used?
So I had a back and forth with Justin Bonds when he was going through he actually was commenting on what we're doing on the peer-to-peer front. And honestly, you know what? We have to toughen up a little bit in the community in terms of sometimes there's going to be criticism. Let's listen to it, hear what makes sense and doesn't make sense. I think we've been harsh on the relays bluntly, but I also, all right, we have a problem with the relays. We'll make them optional. And that's exactly what we're doing. They're not, what I expect is eventually there's going to be some kind of business opportunity around relays down the line for folks where, hey, you want to use a relay to try and get through a bit faster, maybe it'll be a fee, we'll figure that out. And that's not going to be us. That'll probably be independent entities. And that's the beauty of it, right? And that's optional. Short answers, I think we see the full vision in 2024 all the way through. There's probably 2 to 3 major releases. I can tell you the first one right off the bat is we're making people able to turn on peer-to-peer gossip in the first release, probably in Q1 is what it's looking like. And more importantly, we're providing decentralized lookup capability. So you can go look up nodes via gossip. You bootstrap. Anyone who's seen Ethereum or several other chains have seen this. So where right now there's some control over a DNS value that people look up, that becomes an optional component immediately. And that right away, whatever locks that were claimed on us are gone, even in that first release, right? In terms of, hey, there's centralized, the foundation or the technologies team has centralized control of this. Right away, we've made it an optional component. You can now, any node runner can by configuration say, okay, I'm going to use the distributed hash table, or I'm going to use the DNS entry, and I can pick and choose what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's the big one. The next release is obviously enabling consensus and gossip traffic through any node. And that's, I would put that somewhere around late Q2 or Q3. So to me, by the end of 2024, we've seen our decentralization, like in terms of technology enablement, fully through on that front. That's peer-to-peer. Incentives we'll get into in a bit, but I think incentives are a key part of this. I think the dynamic round times, which is going out in Q1 as well, is a huge piece of this, just because you need to be able to withstand the variance you get when you're a really global network. Look how long the Ethereum block times are, right?
Yeah.
They're not short. We don't want to. You made
all.
a comment, David, like, hey, what are round times going to look like when we start going full peer-to-peer? The answer is we want relays to be around because they do shorten the time, but they should not be a requirement of the network.
Yeah.
So if they all go away for 24 hours, and maybe that'll be a fun test we do down the line. We can see if that's even convincing people that's even possible. Like the network should just keep on running, right? And that's really what the bar that folks are setting on us is like, oh, these relays go away, there's this huge problem. So we're very close to this. This is not years away. We are talking on the scale of months. I'm pretty excited about it. We're going to do it carefully. We've been I don't always feel good when we talk about, hey, they've never stalled, they've never done this. It's like John and I joked about it on stage together last year. But the reason why we are very thoughtful with how we do these releases, we're going to do this in a safe, sustainable way, and we're going to get this thing done.
Yeah, it's definitely like Algorand has taken the approach. A lot of chains have taken the approach of try to create and break things and break it and then just kind of patch it up as you go along. Whereas Algorand's like I said, it's still been live. It's been live ever since 2019. It's not gone down or anything like that since. And it's had many times where its network has been stressed and whatnot. I would love to see it.
Can you imagine if a major business entity, let's say Goldman Sachs, is dependent on your blockchain, and then you stall for 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't be good.
Or just fees spike, or I mean,
we're in the Wild West days because people have been getting away with stalling for hours at times right now.
Yeah,
and I just can't imagine how do you rely on that in the real world. And so, as what I've always said is, I'm excited about the more and more real world use cases I see getting built on Algorand, and that's why I can't promise we'll never have a hiccup because we're humans like everybody else, but we're damn well going to do our best to not screw up. And that's the bottom line.
To build quickly on what Gary said, like when you're releasing these things, like when you're releasing a new version of the node, you heavy lies that crown, right? Yeah, it's a privilege to be able to work on this stuff. But I remember doing it myself. You're signing off an engineering release as Gary will do, and there's hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, locked up in this network. And you got to make sure you don't break anything going backwards. You don't break anything going forwards. There's no bugs, no regressions. There's nothing that you haven't seen. And, you got to be super careful. So we're making such tectonic shifts in not only the network topology or layout of the network and how it works, but also in terms of consensus and other things. We're going to be rolling these things out sequentially over time. We could do it in one big bang, but that would be insane. So we're going to kind of go, over the course of 2024. But this comes back to what I said to Justin Bonds the other day on Twitter, is that Algorand kills in 24. We have everything. We have the speed, we have the security, we have the resilience, including in peer-to-peer data propagation, so you don't have to rely on relays. You can go through the spider web of nodes, and we have the scale. Yeah. On top of that, you add consensus incentives. We have a bulletproof network, and then finally you dribble, Salt Bay on top. Python, Python right there like that. And so it's like, I can't believe this thing is 51 in the CMC. Like,
and that's right. And that's another,
it makes no sense to me.
That's another thing that, I think a lot of the community is kind of just, and not even just our community, right? There's many communities, I'm sure, that are out there that are looking at right now. Just over the last week, we had Luna, FTX. Literally, some of the worst FTT token, Surge, and even Solana, right? Surging. And you start to see a lot of these, Justin Bonds, I follow him. I know there's many people that talk highly of Algorand. And then, you see them drop a huge list of great tokens and great projects and then leave out someone like Algorand, or even Algorand just gets kind of, even in news media, right? We try to, we look at some of the bigger agencies that are out there and they'll post an article and they'll leave Algorand's name out. It seems like there's still a lot of, maybe that's fear, right? That they are scared of what you guys are building, that you guys, if enough people find out and actually do start building, especially with the new, coding language and more people having access to build on Algorand, that why would you build a business on Ethereum or on Solana or on, Cardano or, you name it, when the technology is there for Algorand and you can do it and you don't have to worry about so many variables.
Including, by the way, the finality. I mean, let's be real. This building enterprise grade apps, if you don't have to worry about rollbacks, you don't have to worry about transaction orchestration and replays, it's perfect. It's like it eliminates entire classes of error. And so I don't know what the answer is, but like, I'll tell you what, when I see FTX, which is like, literally a bankrupt exchange, whatever, surpasses in market cap, my eyes roll back in my head.
I think people need to look at Gary and make sure he's not Gary Malouf, but Gary Gensler, and make sure he didn't have a bag of FTT somewhere, because he's the one who sent out that tweet that said that we could reboot FTX under new management. And literally, once he put that tweet out, it shot to the moon. And you
got to look at everyone who works there and see who has what bags and knew what he was going to say.
I didn't even see that tweet. I'm going to have to subscribe to this Gary Gensler character, because he sounds like he's a good predictor of the markets.
Yeah, he's very good at pumping, right? He's a really good pumper of the markets, even though he tries to get people for that.
I'll say this: I'm on the technology side, and I like, for a variety of reasons, I try not to focus on price and just build great things. Mm-hmm. But I understand. I have empathy for the community's frustration. I get it. What I would say is it's been a hell of a bear market. Last 2 years, rough. But we have look. When I was 2 years ago, how much was launched on Algorand versus now, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I would also gently remind people, go look at what's there now. Even in the last week, like, you see now the euro's available. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool in time right now.
Yeah, was it like trillions of them?
Minted, I saw it yesterday, and this is a huge. This seems like I read it. I had no idea. I had no idea it was coming. I just saw. I'm like, oh, this seems like a pretty big thing.
By the way, the reason Gary didn't know it was coming, the reason I had a bit more insight, because one of our people was talking to them. We didn't pay them to do it. This wasn't something we went out and sponsored them to do.
Yeah,
they selected the network because they thought it was great. They proposed it to the Dutch central bank on their own, and then they built the thing. And they came to us and let us know what was happening. And
how did they find Algorand, if you have any insight on that?
So I don't know. I haven't really spent much time talking to their technical team, but they effectively selected it for its properties, and they shared with me a paper. I don't think it's public, but basically it was a paper that they submitted to the central bank in the Netherlands or whatever, and it answered a lot of questions that the regulator has around why have you chosen this? Are you sure it's bulletproof?
Yeah.
And they have to go bang, bang, bang. This is why, this is why, this is why. And I looked, they just shared it for my own curiosity. And as I looked through it, it was very well written, of course, but just interesting that Algorand basically was fit for purpose.
Yeah.
It met the requirement.
Yeah.
And it also, by the way, the Dutch, I can tell you, because I worked at the Irish Central Bank, and I also worked with the Dutch Central Bank when we were both working at the European Central Bank, because we worked together on the Eurochain DLT. So I know these guys. I know the tech team at the Dutch Central Bank, and they're some of the most tech savvy in any of the central banks around Europe, because I worked with them all, because we all talk to each other as central banks. And this was a while ago, but I can tell you the fact that the Dutch Central Bank were able to recognize that Algorand was an appropriate platform on which to launch something so significant, to me, a testament to their technical capability, but also heartening to see that you can have someone like Quantoz who goes out, does something, and doesn't need any support to do it, just gets it done, and does, I think, a fantastic job. So I'm delighted to see that roll out.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we hit this earlier, but like the number of projects, and maybe, I mean, this might have been in our last interview, but the number of projects that are choosing purely based on who gives them the most money and not on what actually makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of them are doing
It's
that.
been disappointing the last 2 years. We're starting to see changes there. It's still too much on the direction of, hey, can I get this chain to give me, 500K more than the other chain? And there's that game. And when that as you start to see that game fade, I think it should be good times.
And that game will fade, Gary, because they have because it's not sustainable.
Treasuries aren't unlimited. That's the bottom line. Right.
No. So can we transition a little bit more into AlgoKit? And this is going to be for you, John. How's AlgoKit been doing? Is there any new advancements? And can you break down, give an update to the community?
Sure. So yeah, AlgoKit has been a phenomenal success. I got in trouble a little while ago when I said that it had 10,000 downloads, and some individual said there was only 999,999 or whatever.
The beer crack heard around the world. I still don't know who it was. That space crazy. Will go down in infamy.
Anyway, that number is now at 33,000.
Oh,
if you want to have another Twitter space,
close enough, right? 33, close.
Yeah, so it's at 33,000 now. Some of them will be CI/CD downloads, but it's been a phenomenal success. In 1.0, we recognized that in AlgoKit 1.0, we were looking at a product, and I think of these things very much like products. I think of them like I think of a commercial product. And so in 1.0, what we wanted to do was make it easier to instantiate a project. So locally on your computer, I'll have a new project, please. My project is called XYZ. Enter. Start it. Wanted to make it easier to build that project. Make my project build. Enter. To test the project and to finally deploy the project. Mm-hmm. If you can say AlgoKit deploy and it just shoots off to testnet, that's a whole lot easier than doing all the manual stuff. And so that was AlgoKit 1.0. We did a lot of stuff and there's lots of techie things, but the next thing that I really found great was in about 1.4, 1.5, we brought in a React framework. So we didn't reinvent the wheel. We recognized that dApps that live on chain, they need some kind of interface for humans. That could be a mobile interface or a web interface. It tends to be a web interface. And so we ship tools that let people quickly build responsive front ends for their applications. And of course, that was 1.5. So the next major release is 2.0. It comes in February next year. So in about, 3 months, we are shipping a developer preview of the Python support. So the ability to write contracts in Python.
Nice.
We're shipping that. I just talked to the guys this morning. They're asking me for December 12th. They're looking for a little bit of extra time to make it perfect. I'm looking for week 1 in December. But within the next 20 days or so, you'll get a developer preview of the Python support. It won't be flawless. It's an alpha. It's an early release. But by February, it will be great. It will be absolutely
excellent.
But it's going to be fun because you'll be able to write contracts in a couple of seconds, and it'll be intuitive. And ChatGPT will be able to help you with it, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, that is a pretty. Or go ahead.
No, please.
I was just going to say that is a pretty cool thing I saw that Go Plausible, or that's another thing building. They built like a chat or an algo GPT integration with it. So I feel like I'm not a coder. I've tried many times to try to get into it, and I feel like it's just above my mental, capabilities at this point. Like I've done the things, but it just doesn't really make entirely sense what I'm doing when I'm doing it, even though I'm following the step-by-step commands. But it definitely seems like with Python and with, the AI integrations that it's really going to make it easy for anyone to jump into Algorand and build on it.
Yeah, EMG did a great job with that. Again, a person from the community who just had a passion, just did it on his own. It wasn't a paid thing. And it's terrific. He's basically integrated Algorand directly with ChatGPT. Go on there. I encourage everyone to go on, type in who holds the most Algorand, give me their names, hit enter and see what it says. Very interesting.
Oh, wow.
I can't imagine who this is going to say.
With that one, let's go to our commercial break here. Give a shout out to all of our sponsors. Everyone get some water, hold tight, and we'll be right back.
Yep.
Give me a moment and boom. And then one more thing here. Make sure y'all go check out Messina's tweet. They have a few things going on for the holidays. Make sure y'all go follow Messina. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.
And welcome back, everybody. One thing, we do have quite a few questions, so we we may need to pick up the pace if we're going to get through a lot of these to end the last part of the show. But one that I want to talk about, you had algo greater than Sol, right? And I feel like this goes beyond I feel like this goes beyond just Solana. I'm not singling out Solana. I have some things that are on Solana that have been doing well, like render. And you guys, if you follow the show, I like that one, which was interesting. I'm not going to get to this, but Otoy or render almost was building on Algorand at one point, or looking to. I don't know all the details there why that didn't happen, but I'm not bitter. Going forward though, most of these L1s promote or say that, sharding, right? The sharding technology is the way to go with scaling, right? And I would be interested to know your all's, kind of what you guys think about, like, why doesn't Algorand take this approach? When does it even need to take this approach? And why, is it really the solution that, a lot of these layer ones are talking it up to be, right? They just talk about this sharding. I feel like Near is talking about it, Solana. Literally almost every single one you that's out there.
So if I remember correctly, didn't Anatoly say that sharding on stage, that sharding sucks, I think was his quote. I'm just trying to remember correctly. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard him say on stage. I was thinking about this a little bit, about this question coming in. Ethereum has, I'll be honest, I don't want to say they've given up on sharding, but it's not a priority for them right now.
Yeah.
So the last I had heard, I know Solana talks a bit about it, but they haven't actually done it. I'll just say that really clear. And as far as I know, that's not a near-term priority. Cardano has not done it. Avalanche has not done it. I know about Polkadot and I know about Near.
Multiverse X or eGold, I believe, has done it.
Yeah, there's some. What I'd say is go look really closely. I don't really want to single out chains. That's not. I'm not trying to do hot takes on every single thing, but I'd say check really closely on the finality on these chains. I said this. This is what John and I talk about a lot, where they say we're almost final in 1 second or almost final in 2 seconds, when the actual finality is sometimes minutes later. And just, you have to dig in. It's in their own API docs most of the time. I literally found one chain, I won't say the name, where they like all the marketing says 1 or 2 seconds, and you go into their API docs if you're integrating with them, and it's like you got to wait 5 minutes for for this to settle.
Wow.
And then double check that it actually so there's a lot of magic wand stuff going on now. Short answer, I haven't seen the need for sharding yet in blockchain. All these, even in the highest TPS ones, I just haven't seen it. And when we're talking about sharding, are we talking about processing or are we talking about data sharding? Because, for example, if you go on Solana at the current TPS that they, including mostly because of their consensus messages, you need massive disks.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem that they need to solve, and that's a fair one to go after on the disk. That's something eventually we'll have to solve ourselves from a storage perspective. But from a processing perspective, I just haven't seen it. And that's at the layer 1 level. I'm sure there's plenty of layer 2 solutions that a lot of people are getting this through layer 2s, through rollups, etc. Hey, I'm taking this chunk of the world and I'm putting it on a layer 2. That's an okay choice to make, especially in a private rollup. I think that makes a ton of sense. But from a, should my layer 1 be sharded? I am not seeing it right now. I just don't see a reason anytime soon.
Yeah. Algorand.
John, what do you think?
Yeah, so Gary, I totally agree with you. Algorand doesn't need to be sharded. A layer 1 that's designed properly doesn't need to be sharded. Let me tell you something. Sharding swaps a scaling problem for poorly designed layer 1s for a data availability problem for poorly designed layer 1s. Sharding reminds me of a stylus. Do you remember when you had phones that had that little thing you pulled out and you used to kind of tap around the screen with the little plastic finger thing?
Blueberry, Blackberry.
Yeah, the blue BlackBerry, I think it was called. Yeah, whatever. That's like sharding. It's like a solution. It's like a shit solution at a time where the phone is badly designed. And so how did we fix that? Well, we fixed that with our fingers and using capacitive touchscreens. And so, stay away from sharding.
Okay.
In my view. That doesn't mean you can't get mileage out of marketing the heck out of it, and that's what people have been getting right now. Again,
right.
The theme here is as you get away from speculation towards what works and doesn't work. This is one of the big ones that it's not the mileage is not going to be there forever.
Yeah. Which, Gary, actually, I think we need to say Algorand will shard when it needs it, which is never.
Yeah. I mean,
shard.
That is the one thing that I've always, I've, just like you guys were saying earlier, like, really stress the stress Algorand to see if it would fail. It will be interesting that when, the hope is, I know for a lot of people who are in Algorand, is once this, the inevitable bull run for crypto adoption comes and real purpose and utility is needed, right? And a lot of these things that are more fluff kind of go to the wayside. We're going to see Algorand get tested, right? And to the extent where, where we'd see what does it need, if we need to, what do we need to improve upon? But I agree. It seems like so many of the layer ones that are out here are still touting that they can do all these things, but they're not being truthful. And maybe that's even more a part where I'm like Gary Gensler, like with regulation, why are these blockchains able to falsify, and promote?
David, why isn't your name F. Gary Gensler?
It should be. I mean, I will say I've done so many shows with Tony from Thinking Crypto, and he has a shirt that says F. Gary Gensler on it. He wears it everywhere. But but to his extent, it's like there's so many people or so many chains out here that are just pumping their numbers when really they're not. They can't handle everything that they say they can handle.
Totally. Okay. I mean, to Gary's point, he said about disks, right? How much hard disk space do you need to hold the ones and zeros of this blockchain? And Solana, let's be real about it. Like, we talk about our weaknesses, right? We say, well, the developer experience isn't great, so we have to fix it with amazing experience with AlgoKit and Python. Well, the relay nodes weren't optimal, so Gary's team went and they built a peer-to-peer, and so now that's going to be great. And so Solana has a blockchain that's terabytes inside, hundreds and hundreds of terabytes. I mean,
it's giant money to run a node, just to be clear. It's not cheap at all. Like, we're talking about incentives and allowing more and more people to be able to run nodes. We can do that. Like, one of the things that I didn't even mention this yet. One of the things that we have coming out in the next few months is this concept of non-archival gossiping. Historically, if you're a gossip node, you are also storing the history of our blockchain. That actually goes away in our upcoming releases. And like that, we'll have nodes that are full archival, of course, but like even ours, it's on the order of low single, like at the biggest, it's like 2 or 3 terabytes today, and that's 5 years going. It will get bigger, sure, and we'll deal with the data storage when it comes.
Yeah,
but we're not building up petabytes.
Yeah, but,
and not because we're waiting, not because we don't have traffic. It's because we're not wasting we don't store consensus messages.
Yeah,
precisely.
And we're not wasting space.
And so you can buy an SD card that is the size of the Algorand blockchain. You cannot buy an SD card that is the size of the Solana blockchain. And by the way, Firemancer, whatever it's called, and Fire Dancer. I'm just thinking. But when that comes out, 1 million TPS, give me a break. That's 4 petabytes a year.
Yeah,
4 petabytes a year. It'll get to the point where Solana will need to go and harness atoms from the fucking universe to store the ones and zeros. We'll run out of quantum foam. I mean, it's nonsense.
Yeah, Solana crazy. Can we jump to a different topic? Go to private chains and code chains, and this is probably for Gary. Can you speak on the developments on that, or is that something y'all focus on?
Short answer, we're not focused on code chains right now. I will say that with the shift we've done in terms of how we approach it, so like we are willing to help people get private networks up and running, and that's something that we're really public about on our website.
Yep.
In terms of actual code chains, like general availability for the public, that's not something we're developing right now. We haven't seen the demand that makes sense for that, and we're picking our spots. We think decentralization is orders of magnitude more important to the long-term sustainability of this chain, and that was a strategic prioritization decision we made last year.
Makes sense.
Nice. Let's see. Jumping into some of the other community questions that we have. One would be, and this is something actually that I was interested to, kind of something that dropped recently. I don't know if you guys have any info on this, but how closely is Algorand? I just know that Silvio has made a point to really highlight these two kind of almost like flagship projects at Decipher and other big events that I've heard him speak at. How closely is Algorand working with AgroToken, TravelX, as far as helping them build their infrastructure and what they need? And the reason why I say that is because the recent tweet of the media, which will not be named, they showed that, Agro token is building on, a dot parachain, right? Or a Polkadot parachain. And my question is, did they not find what they needed in Algorand? And so is that why they're going to Polkadot? Or is this just them wanting to expand and use other technology to help bolster what they already have? What are your all's thoughts there?
My understanding, John, you jump in.
Yeah, sure.
My understanding is that from the beginning, they planned to be multi-chain. And this is, that's how they raised money externally. And that's been their full plan. I've never had a negative conversation with them. We don't work with them week to week. Like they don't come to us week to week because they've been really successful building on their own, and they've got a successful business. Like, and frankly, I want to see more businesses like that, and plenty of them are built strictly on Algorand. But I think they're fully intending to be across several different chains, and we shouldn't I don't want us attacking folks that do that. I think that's really important for us as a community not to make someone feel like, hey, if you dare touch any other ecosystem for any reason, that you're held to us. We got to be careful with that because you can also scare away really good builders.
So definitely.
I think Agro Token's a great project, not a project, it's a full-flown business.
Yeah.
And there's nothing unusual here. They still leverage Algorand. I wish nothing but the best there. I mean that.
And so just to build on everything that Gary said, which I completely agree with, Agro Token from the very beginning, from their very instantiation, were multi-chain. They're on Ethereum, they're on Polygon, they're on Algorand. And so this is just adding a fourth chain to their existing base. There's nothing unusual here. Our relationship with these guys is fantastic. And we have a thing internally, right? Minwei is one of my peers on the team at the Algorand Foundation. And she looks after ecosystem and community. So, when I seen this question crop up, and I seen that tweet last week from CoinDesk. By the way, CoinDesk, if you want to have if you want to get involved, you want to talk to me, I'm available anytime. We can do interviews. We can talk about Algorand. It's pretty great. But when I seen this, I spoke to him and I was like, I wanted to really truly understand what was the origin of Agro Token, where are they going, how is the relationship? And so we had a conversation about it. We give them all the love in the world, and so we have. Internally, we have both in my DevRel team, which I call it like white glove DevRel or concierge DevRel, where you get this kind of when you go into a beautiful hotel, you get looked after. Our DevRel guys will sit with you, work with you. We can assign an engineer to you to lift you up, take you on the journey, and place you down when you're finished. And with Min's team, they have this they call it internally a bear hug, and so they consider it giving kind of love to the community. They actively go out to people, to projects like TravelX, to Agro Token, and make sure that everything's cool. Make sure that they're in a good place, that there's no friction, that they don't have any technical problems, that we help them even with things that are non-technical, marketing, other things like that. And so our relationship's great, and we care deeply about these what I consider essential products that are building on Algorand, things that are going to be huge in the future. And the way it was put in that article made it sound like there was a betrayal somehow of Algorand. But just to be clear, that is absolutely not the case. They were already multi-chain. I support the multi-chain view. We should be more into interoperability, and everything is cool.
Yeah, nice. Hey, great answers, and kind of staying along the same lines of that multi-chain future. And I know this is something, it's kind of a fun, light question for you guys, but Sean Ford has left, he's flown the coop, and he has flown all the way over and landed himself at Cardano.
It's funny how that,
right? It's a life is a circle.
To have this thing.
Life is a circle, right? They say that. And John Woods is now here at Algorand. When can we expect more Cardano Algorand collaboration? And would that be something that could actually I don't know, be a spark, right, for the next bull run?
I mean, we should get on a space. You know what? We got to get a space up with our friends over there, John.
Actually, I'm already talking with the guys. So, one, I'd like to say, I've talked to Sean recently. I think it's a wonderful move for him, and I think he'll be a great addition to the team, especially around technologies like JED, which is a stable coin on Cardano. It's very cool, very well engineered. Special shout out to Jean-Philippe Etienne, who's one of the engineers over there, who I worked with closely during when I worked there, and he's a really brilliant person. And so I think it's really great to see talent move back and forth between kind of great projects. And I tweeted something like "great people stay in great projects" or something like that, and I meant it. It's good to see. I've actually been talking to, I know all the guys over at Cardano, Tim Harrison, Ben, the guys who run the kind of social media, the whole lot. And so we've been talking, and I'd like to try to do some kind of joint social media spaces and just drum up some excitement. Actually, one of the ideas I was thinking about was like picking holes in Cardano and picking holes in Algorand and figuring out like what are our problems and how can we solve them together and things like that. And just being a bit more introspective and I called it like breaking Algorand or breaking Cardano, this kind of idea. Monero does a similar thing called breaking Monero.
Sounds like a mini series.
Yeah. And so, totally open to it. Love those guys. Have great relationship back with all my peers over on Cardano, and it's one of the good ones, I think.
Yeah, we need to get both. Well, I know we're soon going to be having Silvio on the next block, so that's why
Episode
everybody
100.
who's watching right now needs to make sure you're subscribed and liking and following along. But maybe we could get even a joint Silvio and Charles Hoskinson. Heck, we can even do bigger. This screen can hold many faces.
We can get 10 people on this screen. Let's do it.
Oh, jeez.
That'd be amazing. I'm sure Charles would love to do it. I know how much he said to himself personally many times how much of a fan of Silvio's that he is. Yeah,
I definitely think that would be amazing. Siwa, you want to grab the next question?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about like jump into where does Algorand stand from a tech perspective, since we're talking about, Cardano, other blockchains against like other L1s, and what could we learn from some of these like popular chains?
It's an interesting question.
I hit this a little earlier and it was when I was thinking about this topic. I mean, I think I have a ton of respect for Ethereum, and I go back to it this isn't about speeds and fee or the around time. Like obviously those are challenges, but I'll be blunt, because we attacked that first. If you're asking me which of the three, which is hardest, decentralization, block time, finality, the hardest is decentralization to actually do right. And everybody, everybody everyone after Ethereum has basically started with speed, right? And that's what everybody's competing on. Like most of those L1s are competing on. And I have a ton of respect for that, for the decentralization front that Ethereum has done. And I keep going back to that. And that's why our whole roadmap is thinking about that. Like I remember how many times interviews and folks that we've done that, folks at the foundation have done, talking about speed and performance, but decentralization is the true thing to unlock. And that's why we're all here. And so that's why Ethereum by far I have the most respect for.
Yep.
And that's not a slight against everybody else. Everyone's trying to build something great, but like no one has reached that level yet. And what you want to do is approach the decentralization level and keep your other aspects. And so that's something I touched on earlier. And that's exactly our mission. I sent you over bullet points when we were talking earlier, in terms of what I think is important in our long-term vision.
Sure.
You want decentralization that it is inspired. The word I'm going to use is inspired by Ethereum. With sustainable, you need a sustainable fees, right? You can't, like right now also everyone's been cheating on the fees, and we're going to have to, at some point, there's going to be a reckoning on that across the ecosystem, because it's not paid. The chains are not sustainable in the current way it's set up. Totally. And Ethereum at least is thinking about this. I'm not saying that their fees are right or too high I think they're too high. Let's be really blunt about it, but there's technical limitations there too. Yeah. So you need reasonable fees, and you need very strong performance in terms of both TPS, finality, and round times. Yeah. And if you can accomplish all of those, you have a hell of a blockchain. And so again, I would say Ethereum is who I go to first, just because I think the decentralization is by far the biggest unlock that needs to be done, and that's what we're going after.
And maybe just to what a great answer. I don't have a lot to add, but I would just say, if you look back on Ethereum, let's be real, it was 2014. I remember buying Ethereum for $6. I didn't keep it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on this show. I'd be sitting on an island.
No, he's being honest right there. Trust me, if I was buying ETH at $6 and had still held it, I wouldn't be doing this show.
I once went for lunch with my buddies from a bank, and we bet 6 ETH on the flip of a coin. So at the time it was like $40, but I didn't keep enough of it. I didn't believe in it because I had problems with the centralization around proof of work and around the pools. And then, I didn't like that Vitalik there was a pre-mine in ETH, and the sale wasn't great, and then you had the DAO hack and blah, blah. And so I guess what I'm just trying to maybe add extra spice on top of Gary's point, which is none of these networks, even the great Ethereum, none of them have a perfect past without any issues or without any kind of moments where you'd say, well, it wasn't great when this pool had 50% of Ethereum's hash rate, or it wasn't great when Vitalik mined 72 million ETH. And so, you know, these are just things. I guess what I'm trying to say is that we will. Okay, if you look at Algorand, you could look back in its history and you can say, well, there's this moment in time when it didn't have this, or it was suboptimal in this way. But I think the test of time is the maturity of a network as it grows and stays alive, and essentially for me has great uptime. And it may not always be 100%, but my God, what incredible uptime it's had so far.
Yeah,
right.
And growing in that environment where you tend towards maximalizing decentralization, but do so while still doing cool things like state proofs, quantum security, all this kind of Python, these cool things, peer-to-peer. I mean, that's as good as one can hope to expect. And I think Algorand is really, amongst its competitors, it really is a superstar.
Yeah. And I guess one quick question to kind of tag along to that, is there any like branch or any department within Algorand that's actually like looking at some of these newer chains that are coming out? I'm thinking like Caspa, Sui, CSEI. I mean, there's so many new layer ones. I mean, there's even another one I feel like I saw that was like, it seems like it might be very centralized, but called like Canton. I don't even think it's launched yet, but is there like I guess a research and development side of Algorand that's like, you know, checking these things out and seeing what tech they're using and what they're trying to, what approach they're doing? Or is it like, you know, or does Algorand still think that, you know, they have the edge even against a lot of these newer layer ones that are coming out brand new? So,
I mean, I'll just start with, you got to keep your eyes open, and you always got to watch the competition. And sleeping is what happened to BlackBerry. It's what happened to Nokia. They were like, oh, we're the best too. Right. Blockbuster.
Pitbull would be mad at that comment, though. I'm pretty sure he still has a BlackBerry because he doesn't like Apple. But
wow.
Or even Nokia, right? The 6630, whatever it was, an indestructible phone, great phone. But you can't go asleep and you can't assume dominance just because you think that you're great. And so, we have the foundation is staffed with people that eat, drink, and sleep this stuff. And so, our eyes are wide open. Some of these chains coming out are interesting. They have some interesting things. I think I had a conversation on Twitter with an academic around Move, and I think maybe, you know, there's parts of Move that are interesting and maybe we should look at, but largely they're mostly horseshit. Gary.
Okay, can we?
I'll say I've seen one or two are working on zero knowledge authentication for which is interesting, and I'm checking that out a little bit. I want to see how well it's done. I worry about, again, the word is centralization versus decentralization with all of these. So people are clearly making trade-offs there, and we have to decide if those trade-offs make sense.
Yeah.
But one last bit of alpha. Watch out for an Algorand authentication product that's going to be coming out very soon.
There we go.
It's going to blow. It's going to blow away ZK login. You're going to be like, ZK what?
Yeah. What is that?
I'm already like ZK what? No.
I don't know. Okay. I know we do have to slowly start closing out. Can we go a little bit rapid fire on these last couple questions? Is there any comments about state proofs? People are asking about it and they want to know what's going on.
Sure. I mean, we are actually, state proofs are super critical to us from a post-quantum perspective, right? We are, right, in 2024, we are fulfilling the vision for post-quantum secure catch-up. We've got one or two major things left to do on that front. Right now, people can use state proofs to build bridges as they see fit. We've done a lot of research on Snark proofs, and we are still working on shrinking them quite enough. That honestly has been back burner temporarily while we're getting the decentralization push through. But state proofs are absolutely critical to post-quantum security. And that's, like, to us, that's when we're talking about sustainability and decentralization, you can't do it without it.
Excellent. What about ZK rollups? No? We'll let that one go.
We just don't need them. We just don't
need them.
I just don't.
Best answer.
What about MetaMask? I know that was something that was, integration there. Is there any updates, I guess, on, that interoperability and if there's any focus there?
So actually, we have a meeting with the team from Consensus next week, I think. So MetaMask is a wallet, of course. It's a Consensus product. I used to work for Consensus. I worked out there for a couple of years as an architect and an applied cryptographer. The way they have allowed folks to extend MetaMask to support other currencies, they call it the Snap framework. And And there's things about it that limit our ability to deliver a great product. And so we want to be part of the people that the cohort that would deliver the first support for MetaMask, but Snap has to evolve in order for us to get to a place where MetaMask is a product that's going to be really enjoyable to use in an Algorand context.
Okay.
And so we're meeting, we speak with Consensus, we have an open dialogue with them, they're on our Slack, and we're meeting with them to see where we bring this product going forward. At the moment, I appreciate integration is okay, but it's not fantastic.
Yeah. I don't know how we skipped this question, but I think it's a good one, and it might take a little bit more of an answer, but and either could answer for, or either of you could answer this one. But developer experience has been a key issue that obviously, Algorand Foundation Inc. has been trying to solve. What else do you think could be done or done more to help bring developers to Algorand and just make their developer experience better?
So I'll just jump in two quick things. Number one, it's the great technology that the Algorand Technologies is now bringing, which is stuff like enabling us at the foundation to bring line-by-line debugging for Python by doing the low-level stuff they need to do in the AVM and in Teal to make that possible.
We're literally doing the handover with the foundation over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
So that's a joint thing, and so we're going to have super rich feature visual debugging, line-by-line debugging coming up in AlgoKit 3.0. It's going to be killer.
Nice.
The second thing is awareness. It's building the religion of Algorand. It's getting out there and kind of doing what Charles Hoskinson does really, really, really well, which is appearing regularly, talking to the community and building the awareness. And so when we have great tools like we do with AlgoKit 2, and we have great awareness as we will have when we continue to increase our appearances and shows like this, I think we're going to have the perfect storm.
Gary, you have anything to add there?
No, I think John got that one.
Sweet. One last thing. I feel like we got a few more minutes here. Any updates, or is there anything that you guys are seeing? I saw a tweet come out from the recent hackathons. Obviously, you got the Buildable, hackathon that's still going on. Is there any projects that you guys see from a technical perspective that you're really excited about building on Algorand? That or maybe that you think Algorand needs, and you're hoping that maybe starts to build and utilize Algorand? Anything from a technical perspective there that you guys are seeing or interested in?
So maybe it's probably easier for me to take this one first because Gary is obviously focused on the protocol, and I'm a bit more present in the community, if you like. So there's a bunch of stuff. One, I think it'd be really cool to see instant settlements with a MasterCard or Visa card, where we can tap that and spend USDC or EURD or indeed Algo.
That's great.
We're working with a bunch of firms that are thinking in this direction, and we're supporting them to try to build quickly on Algorand. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be an absolute killer. I'd also like to see more in terms of moving technologies like Para to stop focusing maybe on making your accounts the core of the user experience and start making it more about your digital identity. And so that maybe when you open your Para or equivalent, you will be the root of that application, your identity. And so maybe we start adding to the fact that you can spend Algorand and you can interact with contracts and you can move funds. Maybe we also start adding things like peer-to-peer messaging that's encrypted directly with your Algorand keys, attesting documents or signing documents right with your digital identity, and those kind of things.
Talking.
Yeah, I'm quite excited about that, and we're thinking about this, and we're moving forward standards on it. So there's a standard already that one of my teammates, Bruno, has put out around supporting elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman, using Edwards key pairs, which is what we use to sign Algorand transactions. And so a lot's going on. Also, this kind of, I'm calling it algo auth, but I'm told not to call it that. So it's not called that. Okay. And so yeah, some cool stuff coming up. But ultimately, Algorand is the Linux of blockchains. Bring your app. We'll help you build it. It's secure, reliable, and decentralized.
Excellent. So as we close out, I'm going to start with you, Gary. Is there anything else you would like to share, or any other alpha that you'd like to throw out?
I'm just gonna. No, there's no hidden info that we haven't gotten to. I'm gonna go back to the basics here, right?
Yep.
Is that we try to be realistic, honest, build great shit, and deliver it. Right? That's the recipe. There's no. We're not trying to wave magic wands over people. We're trying to build things that is sustainable, can last for years and years, and we're going to keep doing that. And I'm excited about all the folks that have built already. I hope to see a whole lot more on the train over the next year and a half, especially when we get the full native Python support in the next few months. You know, excited to be here, and we're just going to keep going.
Excellent. John, pass that to you.
Yeah, I would just like to say that the relationship between the foundation and Algorand Technologies is at an all-time high. We work very closely together. And just to echo Gary's sentiment, being authentic and integrous is really important to us. And so maybe we don't hype as much as other blockchains and we don't say as much shit, but we're building products that are going to hopefully change the world. And we care deeply about what we put out there. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Excellent. Crypto for change.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's been a great show. Thank you guys so much. And thanks to everybody in the chat who tuned in. Obviously, guys, we were reading your comments. It's hard to respond to all of it when there's so many of you guys going on, but it looks like you guys had a blast as well. And obviously make sure you like and subscribe. We will be having these guys back on in the future. You already know that is a given. I feel like we've had you guys on at least three or four times this year. And obviously make sure you're subscribed because we will be trying to get Silvio. I know that's one thing that a lot of the Algorand faithful love to hear more of. They want to hear more from Silvio, the man, the legend himself. And so we are going to get him on the next block, and that is also with your all's help. So Gary and John, we've already, Stacy said she was going to. Yeah, Stacy said she was going to be the one to really
put
help
everybody
push
on
that.
the spot until
on the 100th episode. I don't know. Y'all just have to go like abduct him from his office and like tie him to a chair just for an hour, just so we can just like ask him some questions. I don't know. I mean, it'd be great. That's for sure.
Extra legal means there, I see.
Yeah, exactly.
In all seriousness, guys, thank you so much for having us today.
Definitely.
It's been a fun hour.
So can you two stay backstage for a moment? We're going to close out the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. All right, y'all. Appreciate it. Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe. Share this video with a friend. Let's get these people educated about what Algorand is and what it's been building. And again, thank everyone.
See you guys next time.
Next week.